Hello everyone, welcome to Codex Gaming, and today I wanted to talk about what I consider the game of the year. Yes, you can see from my shirt, I am talking about Clair Obscur. I have been wanting to make a video about this game for a while now, and I wasn't able to make videos for a while, and then I was able to make videos for a little bit, and then I couldn't figure out how to work OBS. So here I am finally talking about one of my new favorite games. I'm not kidding when I say how good this game is. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is by far the best game of 2025 and is up in the top of top contenders for Game of the Year. And I seriously believe that it will win Game of the Year. Easily. There are not... This game is going to change how we see games. Let's just put it that way. So, I wanted to give my full thoughts and review. This is not going to be a very long video because, I need to cut myself off or I would talk about this game for 30 years. 33 years, as a matter of fact. But I would talk about it forever, and I don't want to do that. So, we're going to cut this video relatively short. But I did want to talk about the game and give my full review. So, I'm going to be splitting this video up into two parts. Alright, everyone? So, the first part of the video is going to be my general thoughts. Gameplay, music, story-wise. But nothing, spoiler-esque. No, deep plot, anything. Just the basics of what I think of the game and why I think that. And then the second half of the video will be spoilers. It'll be what I thought of the story, the twists, my own theories going into the game, and how surprised I was at the ending. And also, my choices in the game itself. So, there will be a little warning before the spoiler section. Just keep that in mind. So, Clair Obscur is a turn-based RPG set in the world of Lumiere. So, basically, every year, the paintress creates a new number on her monolith. She paints a new number on her monolith. And every single year this happens, everyone above that age or that age dies. And it has been counting down from 100 all the way down to 33. So, they don't got much time left. And no one is over the age of 33. And the main character that you play as, Gustav, it is his last year. Because he's 32 right now. And by next year, he will be over the age of 32, thus dying. So he has one more year left. Every single year, during what they call the Goumage, which is when they all die, they send out the people who are on their last year to live to go and try to stop the paintress from painting the number on the monolith and figure out why she's doing it, put a stop to it so that they have more time to live in Lumiere. And that's where the story begins. The turn-based combat is incredible. I have, if I'm being honest, never been a fan of turn-based games. Every time I hear about a turn-based game, I'm just like, ugh, that's how my attitude has always been toward turn-based games. The only turn-based games I've ever really liked was the one Pokemon game I've ever played, which was Soul Silver, and Undertale. Those games are really good. And the reason I liked Undertale was it gave you more than just you press a button, you watch it, and then it's their turn. It made you actually have to play the game. You'd have to move your little heart around to avoid getting hit. You'd have to talk to the opponent during your turn to try to spare them or whatever you're trying to do to them. You'd have to set things up. And I really liked that aspect because it made me as a gamer, it made me feel more like a player than someone just watching it, in my opinion. And so when I heard of Clair Obscur and then I heard that it was a turn-based game, my immediate reaction was, ugh, because again, I don't really like turn-based games. This game has completely changed my opinion on turn-based games. This game is so well thought out with its gameplay. Every attack has its own unique animations. Every single attack has different elements that apply that, whether, kind of like Elden Ring. Like, if you have fire, that fire will build up, so every turn you take fire, like they'll take fire damage. If they're, weak against a certain element, you can use that element against them. If it's like an earth enemy, you can use certain abilities that give them weaknesses depending on what the enemy is. There's also a dodge and a parry attack. So you really have to practice your timings. You can't just exist in this game. And technically you can if you turn it in story mode, or story difficulty, I should say, sorry. Story difficulty, but in normal difficulty or hard, you have to get these timings right. Like, you have to parry, you have to dodge. That is the only way you're going to get very far toward the bigger stuff in the game, which was really fun. I really enjoyed getting the hang of the parrying system, and it was just so satisfying to have an enemy that you had been struggling on over and over and over again, and then finally getting it right. And finally getting to that point where you beat it and you just feel this rush of adrenaline. The last time I felt like that in any video game was Elden Ring. This game seriously does feel like a Souls-like. I know a lot of people have compared it to a Souls-like. It's not a Souls-like, but it feels like one. It feels like a Souls-like. I don't know how to explain it. It feels like you're playing a Souls game. And no, it's not just because it's a parry and dodge. Every aspect of it, the boss designs, the characters, the story, it feels like you're in the world of a Miyazaki game. And it was an incredible experience. The atmosphere is inspired. I'm not kidding. Some of these areas, like they're at the very beginning of the game, there's this area where it's like underwater, but it's just air, so they're like fish floating in the air next to you, and these like big long like seaweed vines and coral everywhere. It is so pretty. It looks so good, and there are so many areas like this, and the game is full of places to go. The map is massive for a game this scale. Like, there are probably, give or take, 100 different locations you can explore. I could very well be wrong about that, but it felt like it. It felt like there was probably 100 different locations. I'd say it's probably like 20, but you know how you can be. The character design is really, really good. The voice direction and the acting in these characters feel really well done. There were a few issues with character models. Like, for instance, the mouthing didn't match up sometimes, and there was a reason for that, but like, the mouthing wouldn't match what the characters were saying at times, and it was like there was like a syncing issue. But the reason that it was doing that was because the audio was ADR'd. And if you don't know what ADR is, it's voiced over afterwards. So rather than like a game like Red Dead Redemption, where all of the audio is recorded during the motion capture, all of it was done afterwards. They motion captured everything, they did all the scenes, they did all the mouths, and then they had actors go in that were completely different people to then voice over the characters as if they were just doing animation. And because it was so late in the process, they couldn't reanimate it. So that's why you get there's like little discrepancies of what they're like saying versus what their mouths say they're saying. So, which is not a big deal, but there were a few times where it was kind of egregious. But like the character models, the character design, the voices, the acting, it is phenomenal. The acting is really, really good. They're played by phenomenal voice actors, and everything just fits the characters so well. And there's nothing, like, there was no character in the game. Like, there's a lot of games, like RPGs especially, where like there'll be a character you don't want to go talk to. Like, every time you go to talk to that person, you're like, ugh, this guy. This game didn't have that. Every single character had so much depth, so much like energy to it. Everyone had their own moments. They, comedic, sad, whatever, character building, character arc, whatever. They all had their own like little thing to add to the story. And it was so well done. It was such a well done, like, element to the game. The music in this game is incredible. I'm not kidding. I cannot quit listening to it. I beat the game a while ago, and it is in my personal playlist. I cannot, it won't go away. It won't leave my head. I feel like that episode of SpongeBob where, like, there's like a brain worm in my brain and it won't leave and it keeps the song in my head. That's how these songs are. Every single track, I'm not kidding, every single track is phenomenal. But there are a few, and I'll get into that with the spoiler section, but there are a few that stand out way more above the rest. Alright, so now we've talked about that stuff, let's go into the spoiler section. So, I'm going to give you all a few seconds to move away if you haven't played the game, because this game is incredible, and I do not want it to be spoiled if I can avoid it. So, go ahead.
Why are you still here?
The story is incredible. It is one of the most heartbreaking stories I have ever witnessed in a game. And it is so well done. I'm not exaggerating when I said that this story had me gripped almost the entire time. Like, the premise alone, like, because I explained the premise at the beginning of the video, but, like, the premise alone is enough to, like, really get you hooked. But once you get into the story, it is insane how deep it is. The story is so well done. And there were so many times where I was, like, trying to theorize as to what was coming next. There was a whole point where I was like, they're being reincarnated, and, like, when the gommage happens, they're just, like, recycled and, like, re-put into place. So, like, that was the reason why Mael kept saying, like, she had deja vu and she remembered everything. And that's why, like, Sael mentioned that she knew, what's his name? Esquier mentioned that he knew Sael. At the, like, when you first meet Esquier, he's like, "Oh, I know you, my swimmer friend." That was a horrible impression of Esquier, but let me see if I can do a better one. "Oh, I know you, my swimmer friend." No, I can't do it.
Okay, Momo is Momo, and Nono is Nono.
But, like, that was what I had assumed, was, like, they were being reincarnated. And then, like, they kept saying, like, Mael was Alicia, which was obvious that it was her. So what I had assumed happened was there was this event at the, like, whatever they called, I think they called it the fracturing, or the fracture, or whatever they called it. I don't really remember what it was called at the beginning. But it was whatever started all this. And that event, what I had assumed had happened was something had happened and Alicia had died, and then every time someone was gommaged, they would just be put back and reincarnated back to who they were. And Alicia was just the most closely like the closest that it was, right? And I didn't realize that this was wrong until they revealed that Alicia, like the Alicia epilogue. So, like, the entire scene where, like, the painted Alicia is reading the letter, I did not get what they were saying, and I rewatched the scene afterwards to understand what they were talking about, because I did not get it. I did not get what they were trying to say whatsoever, and I was just sitting there so confused at what they were talking about. And then they were like, Alicia was like, "You would rob us of the person who's defending us," and I was like, holy shit. And it felt like such a punch to the throat to be like, you just doomed the world by playing the game. Like, you play the game and you're punished for it. Which I really did like. It was very interesting. It was very interesting to see a game turn that way. But it was just like... So now we're at the ending, right? So I chose, and I know this is going to sound controversial to the people of the Clair Obscur community, but I chose Mael's ending. And wait, before you start throwing things, just listen. First, I obviously did not know what happened in Mael's ending. If I did, I probably wouldn't have chose it. But 2, I understand that the point of the story is that you gotta let go of grief, and you gotta, like, move on, you can't hold on to the past, and yada yada yada. I understand that logic. But at the same time, the entire Desandra family is incredibly selfish. And, you know, I understand where they're coming from. I understand that they're full of grief and they're full of all this misery and they want to move on and do better and all this stuff. But they are all incredibly selfish. They are all incredibly uncaring about the people around them and what they're making all the people in the painting go through. And I know a lot of people have tried to, like, do debates on this, but I'm sorry, but the people in the painting are real. They're not some video game character or, like, fake AI, or they are real people. They explain this to you in the game. They are real people. They are able to reproduce, love, feel, think, create, literally everything. So no, they are not fake. They are not real or any of this stuff. They are real people. And I could not erase the canvas and choose Verso's ending, who Verso has been a snake the whole game, because they need to get over their grief. That's not okay to me, because these are real humans. And by doing that, maybe you save the Desandra family. Maybe Verso doesn't have to suffer. But you're killing an entire civilization of people that have a right to exist in this universe. But then you watch Mael's ending and realize that that's not what happened. Because you watch Mael's ending and you realize that Mael becomes her mother. She does the exact same thing she does. She repaints everything exactly the way it was, but just not. And instead of, like, repainting everything and just living, she decides that she wants to exert her own control over everything. She wants to make sure that everything's the way she was. She brings back Verso, even though Verso frickin' begged her to let him die. She brings him back in this, like, desperate, like, whatever, to control everything. So then you get this really, like, sick understanding, like, nothing is real now. It was, but it's not anymore. These people that exist now are not the real them. The same way that Verso is not the same Verso. And because of that, it makes this ending accomplish nothing except the opposite of what erasing the canvas would do. Mael will die in the canvas, which, when Mael dies, sorry to say this, but the entire canvas goes, because Renoir is sure as hell not leaving the canvas after she dies. Not happening. He's burning that place down. And 2, if they don't have free will, then what's the point? She brings them all back to put them through the same cycle. Because ultimately, she can never forget that she's a god, and therefore can do whatever she wants. She can exert her will. She can force people to do things, which we see her doing when her eyes turn all blech and look like she freaking exploded. When they look all blech, she's painting Verso to do what she wants. She wants him to play the piano, so she's painting him to play the piano. What's to stop her from doing that to anyone? It's not the case of they're humans. They are slaves now. And I feel like that's a worse fate than just them being erased quietly and quickly. Unfortunately. Which is why I think that Verso's ending is better. Not because they're fake, not because of the whole, like, oh, well, they should experience grief in the right way. Because, unfortunately, there is no right way to experience grief. There's not a right way to do it. Escapism is a really good way to experience grief, as long as you don't go to, like, the extremes like obviously Alicia and Aline did, but like you could go to the painting and experience some of that that calming whatever, and like they're not gonna do that because it's like a drug. It's like a drug. You're not just gonna take one. You're not just gonna do it once. That's the problem with like them going into the painting. The real good ending would have been they repaint everyone and throw the canvas away, never to be seen again. They live their lives in the canvas and they stay out of it. That would have been the good ending, but that doesn't happen. In Verso's ending, the entire canvas is erased, and in my opinion, it is the better ending just off of the cinematography alone. And I think that was the ending that they were going for. I think that's the canon ending. I think it is the better ending because it just ties the story a lot better. You get the, like, kind of like if you've ever got like a bad ending in a game where like it doesn't feel very satisfying, that's Miles' ending in a nutshell. Like nothing feels satisfying. The music that plays in the end does not feel like end music. It sounds like fail music. Like the music that like that music sting at the very end does not feel like ending music. It feels like look what you've done music. And because of that, I think that Verso's ending is better. But I don't like to see people be like, oh, well, Verso's ending is the only answer. Because Verso's ending, you know, they're not real people and they're just faking and they're just AI and they just need to grow up. That's just a negative attitude in my opinion, because the game clearly tells you that they're real people. And by saying that, I feel like you're undermining the message of the game of this is a really hard decision. This is not black and white. So to try to make it black and white, I believe does the game a huge disservice. I do believe that Renoir was right. I do believe he was right. I just think that his methods were not right, and I think that that's what makes him the antagonist, is like, just because he's right doesn't make him completely right. Like, I understand what he's gonna do. And let's be honest, if any one of us were put in Renoir's situation, we would easily do the same thing he's doing. But, like, also, he is killing an entire civilization. Can you morally be like, okay, well, that's acceptable? No, you can't. You have to look at it from the premise of, like, he is technically wrong, but he's doing it for the very, very right reasons. I think the worst out of the entire family was Clair. Clair is a monster. Like, at least Renoir was, like, trying to, like, kill them peacefully and painlessly and, like, you know, give them oblivion as, like, as he says, like, oblivion as recompense for all the suffering. No, she's just like, let's make the version of me in the canvas my personal slave, and then her husband or boyfriend or lover or whoever it was, my also personal slave, and let's torture people and murder people and just, like, what is wrong with Clair? Like, Clair is not a good person. Like, she's not a good person. And I don't think she's, like, vindictive or sadistic. I don't think she just sits there and, like, twirls her little beard and mustache at her evilness. I think she's just apathetic because she has the same opinion that a lot of people do, that they're just a game. Like, same way like you do in, like, GTA. Like, if GTA was real life, you'd be a psychopath. But because it's GTA, you're not. I think that's the same, like, logic she implies. It's like, or applies, not implies. Where she's like, it's just a pain. It's not hurting anyone. But it is, because they're real people. And, well, you know what I mean? Like, they're real people. It's not a fake world. It's just not their world. And then you got Aline, who is the one who started all of this. Aline literally just doomed the entire civilization the moment she stepped into it. And in my opinion, makes her one of the worst members of the entire family. Not only that, but she paints Alicia with the scars. Like the fake version of Alicia that she paints. She paints her with the scars and then gives her a mask to cover it up. Like, that alone was just disgusting to me. Like it's your own daughter, you know? And like, I understand that she feels like this resentment and this hatred toward her daughter because her daughter is technically responsible. But also, it's her daughter. She's supposed to protect and love her, and instead she created a version where she's in internal suffering just because she could. Like, she could have literally just not painted her. If she didn't want her in the painting, she could have just not painted her in the painting. She chose that. She chose to paint her daughter as she was suffering. What kind of a person does that? So, Aline is also kind of a crappy person. And then you got Verso, which we don't know much of anything about the real Verso, but the painted Verso is a snake and is incredibly selfish and a huge hypocrite. He's a huge hypocrite because when Mael erases the painted Alicia, he gets all butthurt about it, even though he was perfectly fine with erasing her. He had every opportunity to erase her and whatever, and never had a problem with that. He had no problem with sleeping with Sael or Lune and then just letting them die. Like, he's not a good person. But none of the characters are horrible either. Except for Clea, she's a piece of shit. But like, everyone else is like so understandable and so human. I mean, even Clea, but like, I like to poke fun at Clea. But like, everyone feels so human and alive and just whatever that I cannot believe it was like a banking marketer or some bank person who wrote this story. They found her on frickin' Reddit. They hired her as a voice actor, and then she was like, I can write a pretty mean fan fiction. And he's like, sign here for your contract. And then she wrote all this. She wrote this whole game. Like, they need to give her her own Hollywood studio and just be like, have at it. Just have at it. And then we go back to the music. Like I said, I can't get most of the music out of my head, but there are a few tracks that really stick out to me. The theme that plays, I cannot pronounce it, I'm not going to try, but it'll be like right here, above my head somewhere, or over here, or maybe it'll be in Jerry's mouth, I don't know. But it's the song that plays during Renoir's second boss fight. Oh my god, this is the best song in the game, probably. And it is one of the best video game sounds I've ever heard. It is so good, and when you listen to it, and you learn what the lyrics are, it makes it even better. Because the entire song is Renoir and Aline singing at each other. Not with each other, at each other. They are mid-argument, screaming at each other, telling each other to stop and come back to them. And it's like Renoir's like, stop painting and stop leave this canvas and come to me because I need you. And then the wife is like, just stop loving me because I'm too far gone. And he's like, I would never do that. And she's like, well, I'm not going to stop painting. So they're at this standstill of like, they obviously care about each other, but they're not willing to put aside their stubbornness and meet in the middle. And it is so heartbreaking. There's also the theme that plays in Simon's boss fight. It is so good. And I didn't talk about Simon before, but Simon took me forever to beat. Like, just forever to beat. And then I tried to beat him. I made it to phase 2. Couldn't get phase 2. And then I was like, how do I beat phase 2? And then they were like, oh, by the way, there's 3 phases. And in the 3rd phase, your team gets erased and you have to use your backup team. And I was like, well, my backup team is shit because I haven't leveled them. So I was basically forced to re-level my entire team to go back to Simon. I went back to Simon and spent about 2 hours trying to beat him. And then, by some luck, I did like half of his health with Mael's Goumage attack. And then was able to beat him afterwards. It was so cool. And the last time I had felt like that, exhilarated to have beaten a boss, was Melania from Elden Ring. So that's a testament of how good that boss fight was. But the music in that boss fight is incredible. The other track that I really, really like is the Lumiere track. It's the first song that plays in the game. It is so catchy and just gives you this like whimsical feeling, and it's so good. The other really good track is Minoko's theme. Minoko's theme is easily one of the better tracks in the entire game, and probably one of the better tracks in any game. It is so good. It is so good. It's so jazzy and upbeat, and it works so well. And then the final boss theme. The final boss theme is really, really good. It's really, really hype, and it just makes you just excited. I don't know how it does it, but it's just so exciting and thrilling, and it's also really, really sad. So it's just, all the music is really, really good. I said that I was gonna make this a short video. I didn't. That's not what I did. I didn't. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. But that is going to do it for today's video. Like I said, I have a lot more to talk about this game. I'll probably talk about it in a stream or maybe another video, and I might even do another, like a YouTube series on it, because again, it is very likely one of my favorite video games of all time, other than like Red Dead and Elden Ring. Those are my top 2 favorite video games of all time, and Clair Obscur is probably up there now, if I'm being totally honest. And it's just so good. Also, I'm sure you've seen it, but I'm wearing the official Clair Obscur shirt. This is on the IGN store. I will link the page in my description if you want to get one of these. This is not sponsored by any means, but I really do love this shirt. It's very comfortable. The only thing I do not care for, which I don't know if it's the fabric, I don't know if it's me, but it gets really messy. Like, things stick to it a lot easier than normal black shirts. Like, things, like, stick to it, and, like, you walk through, like, something, and, like, you just get stuff all over you. You gotta, like, use a lint roller and get all the lint and stuff off. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the fabric. I don't know if it's just the shirt. I don't know if it's just me. But, you know, just to warn you. But it's a very comfortable shirt. It's a very nice shirt. And, yeah, so if you want one of them, go to the IGN store. I'll link it in the description. But I want to thank you all for watching my freaking 3-hour video talking about this game, because I really do love this game. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.